You're wearing a sweater that was selected for you by the people in this room from a pile of stuff.
Give me a full ballerina skirt and a hint of saloon, and I'm on board.
I have a hole in my stomach!
I can't go back.
Welcome to the She Became Visible podcast. I'm your host, Rene Steelman. This podcast is my story. It's your story. It's our story. It's all the stories of all the women who one day knew that it was time to remember who they were, who they are, and stand up and be seen. Hello. Happy spring. Can you believe it is spring? I cannot believe it is spring. Easter is a little bit late this year. My birthday is coming up next week, and sometimes Easter falls on my birthday, and sometimes it doesn't. And last year, I think it was even in March, if I remember correctly. So it's springtime, people. And here's the deal. In Arizona, I do see spring. Some of the cactuses are actually starting to flower, which is beautiful. But we just got back from the Pacific Northwest, and I saw something that I had forgotten: daffodils. The daffodils were out everywhere, and it was so beautiful. And I had forgotten about the daffodils now that we live in Arizona. So welcome to She Became Visible. And I think today is going to be a great show, especially for my ladies that feel invisible. I hope this show will inspire you to remember who you are, like I said in my intro, and to remember that you have value. So my guest today is, let me show you, Nadja is 75, and she has got a fabulous Instagram post going on. She has got a lot of followers, and what I love about her, I don't even know how I found her. I don't know whether I was scrolling and it popped up or how I found her. What she has is reality. Her Instagram is full of posts about real things that you can do. And I know that sometimes, I believe women, especially our age, we get overwhelmed easily because people start hitting us with, this is what we should eat. This is what we should do. Don't do this, do this. You know, it's funny because I saw one the other day where a lady was like sitting there eating her oatmeal, and then she posts this doctor comes up and says, don't eat oatmeal. It's peasant food. Peasants are the only ones that ate oatmeal. And she goes, oh, okay. She puts it down. She picks up some eggs. Don't eat eggs. Eggs don't have enough protein. She puts that down. And that's what you get if you're on social media. You get a lot of people screaming at you. And one of the things I love about Nadja's posts are they're real. They're just things that we can do. The other thing that Nadja talks about, and we will bring her on here soon, is the reality of thinking that you're too old to make any changes in your life. That is just not true. And I think the women that are showing that are the women that are at least over 60, if not over 65. These are the women that are on social media right now that are showing you you are not too old to change. The only thing that makes you too old to change is your mindset. But if you can listen and really do some critical thinking and evaluation, you can make a difference in your life. So let me show you really quick. Okay, this is Nadja's Instagram page. I want you to look at this so that you can really take down all this information and you can get on there and you can follow her, because I just want to show you some of the things that she has on her Instagram page. I don't know if you can see that or not. This is not out of reality. This is something that you can do. It might be something that is difficult at first, but starting slowly and working your way up is what it's all about. And that's one of the reasons why I absolutely hate 60-day programs, 90-day programs, 6-week programs, because I really think it sets you up for failure. If you think, I'm going to change my body, I'm going to change my lifestyle in 6 weeks or 90 days or something like that. Let me stop talking, bring on Nadja, and let her introduce herself. I love her story. I really want you to hear her story, because I think it's absolutely fascinating. Talk about being in the right place at the right time with some wrong stuff. That's what makes it so interesting. So Nadja, Hello.
Hi. So great
I'm
to meet you and everyone there.
Oh my gosh, I am so thrilled to have you. As I mentioned in my intro, I don't remember how I found you or how I found your Instagram. You know how it will recommend? Maybe that's how I found you, or maybe I was looking at, old ladies on Instagram or something. It's like, oh, look, there's somebody else. So,
I, I'm
but
so happy that happened.
yeah, me too. Me too. And I was so thrilled when you're so out front right away. I'm 75. I'm like, "Bleh, what? And I love that because as I said, as I'm scrolling through your Instagram, what I see is reality. I mean, this is like you're not in the gym lifting 50 pounds. That's not your thing. Your thing is, now correct me if I'm wrong. Pilates is your chosen.
I do Pilates once a week. I do bar once a week, and I do weight training, but it's only between 8 and 20 pounds. So I tell people, I know there's some amazing older gals out there, and they're like bodybuilders, but
Yeah.
I'm not a bodybuilder. I just want to have toned arms, and I want to be able to wear sleeveless dresses at my age, and I just want to feel strong. And I found that the things I was doing was really helping me. And so I was telling you earlier that I'm retired. I was a CEO of my company. I've always done healthy food my entire life. I've always believed in that. And then when I retired, I wasn't very good at that. I got bored. And so I decided just to do an Instagram page, which I knew nothing about, which is kind of interesting because I think no matter how old we are, we can sometimes reinvent ourselves and go, okay, I've done this all my life. Maybe I'm going to step out of my comfort zone and do something totally different. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, I learned my biggest lessons through failures. So that's okay too.
Yeah.
And I told my daughter, I said, I'm just going to document what has helped me be healthy. There's lifestyle health that you can eat better, you can exercise better. And then there's, I had leukemia and I got through that. So there's that kind of health that sometimes, you can't control, but there is a part of our life, or walking in front of a car or something. Those are things that, accidents or
Yeah.
disease, but lifestyle is what you eat, how you move, how active you are in your attitude, and that we can control. And I found that has really, really helped me. So I just thought, I'm just going to put it out there and just talk about what I know. And I was just saying, I was telling Rene, the first month I just started, end of November, basically beginning of just December. And I think I had 85 followers. And I thought, oh, I'm just going to share what I know. And my daughter said, oh, don't worry, Mom, if no one follows you. Just document your aging as you're getting older. I said, yes, there's something for the family. This is your mom doing this, whatever. And then all of a sudden, it kept growing and growing. And today, I think there's 93,000 followers in just 3 months. And it's so fun and exciting because I'm seeing other women out there who are saying, tell me more. I love to do that and I love to share that. So it's been a lot of fun for me. And I was just saying to Renee, I've been alive on this world, on this earth for 3/4 of a century. And I've got God willing, another quarter of a century left. And I want to enjoy that. I want to live that in my best health. We're all going to die, right? But I want all my time before that to be as vibrant and as healthy as I can be. And when I cross those pearly gates, I don't want to be in a walker. I want to be wearing high heels as I go in there, because I think we have the knowledge now, and I think women have amazing ability to do what's good for them. And I encourage that because I think that's really important. And I think when a woman takes, it's funny being on Instagram, I get so many lovely people, but then you get some people are saying, well, you should be, I'm busy taking care of my grandkids and I'm busy, that's, that's being kind of selfish. And I always say to them, if you take care of yourself, you're going to be a better wife, mother, and friend because you are happy yourself. And when mama's happy, everybody's happy.
That's so funny that you would bring that up because I just saw a post today from a couple of ladies that I know that they're struggling. They both have had horrendous events in their life and they didn't get the support that they needed. And what this post was where are the boomers? Where are the grandparents? Why aren't the grandparents helping us with our kids? They should be, if family's so important to you, why are you traveling and vacationing? Why aren't you helping me with my kids and being a good grandparent? And I was like, I'm in the middle because I see both sides. As a grandparent who has also helped raise grandchildren for, my oldest grandchild is 22 and he lived with us for a long time. We helped raise him, helping our son. But now, at 71, we're like, you know what? We've raised kids, we've helped raise grandkids, and we kind of are getting, a little bit exhausting the older you get. And so what we find enjoyment is maybe a little travel or maybe just watching Netflix and things like that. So it hurt my heart to see these women who really need help and they're not getting it from their family. And so their only outburst is to blame the grandparents for not helping. I love what you said about, caregiving is exhausting. And that's where these women are. They're exhausted. And so they're reaching out in anger, saying, why aren't my parents helping me? And there might be some valid things for what they're saying. I also just saw I watched a little documentary on Gene Hackman, and they were talking about his wife being a caregiver and how she needed help too. And so I love that you said that if you can't take care of yourself, you can't help other people and you need respite as well.
Yeah. I think the analogy on the airplane when they say when the oxygen mask drops, put it on yourself first before you put it on your child. Because that's, if you aren't capable and able, have the ability, how can you help anyone else? So I think that's a struggle, and it's sometimes a guilt struggle. But
Yeah.
I've worked all my life. My parents had a grocery store in a restaurant. We lived above it. I thought all kids put an apron on when they come home from school. And I think, when you worked all your life, sometimes, it's okay to like treat yourself and enjoy, because you know what? There's only so much time left, and it's important. And I think it doesn't do us justice to not take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we can. And it takes you back to the healthcare system. If we take care of ourselves, there's less pressure on the healthcare system to take care of. And I always believe, how you take care of yourself will determine the quality of your aging. That's just basic fact. So you're not only helping your family, yourself, you're helping society and taking a burden off them. So to me, it's a win-win. But getting back to what you were saying earlier, there's some kind of impossible task. Like you see them, you go, do this, 10-day fast or whatever it is, or do this and you'll be like, Wonder Woman in 30 days. And I think that sets up people for failure, but also for great disappointment, because they go, you know what, next time, why even go out to exercise? It's not going to help me because I did this 60-day thing and I didn't get the results I wanted. So it's all hokey pokey. I think it's really important to be realistic. And it's so available to do the things that you need to do, and the results are there. And guess what? When you see the results, like for example, myself, I've done Pilates. I had a weight problem when I was younger, restaurant and grocery store, there was a lot of food. And so I was always yo-yo dieting extremely. And my sister was anorexic, so we were very food focused or food misfocused, I guess. And it wasn't until I learned, I do this thing on my website, it's called the 80-20 eating plan. And 80% of the time I eat healthy, protein, high fiber, stay away from sugar as much as I can, except natural sugars like fruit. Don't stop eating fruits. If people go, I can't eat fruits because there's sugar. So you need these things. And so you stay on that. And then 20% of the time, you have that glass of wine, you have that dessert, you have that treat, because if you are going to be so regimented, not have all the guilty pleasures, you want to call them that, you're not going to stay on a healthy diet. And once I discovered that, I thought, hey, I can do that. And it has really, really helped me. So this is the kind of information I put out there. Even weight training, I have on my website. When I got into my 60s, I got crepey arms, even though I was doing Pilates and doing that. Also like, what the heck is that? And I literally stopped buying sleeveless things because I thought, oh my gosh, my hair, I don't want to show my arms and the stuff was hanging and all that. And so I started working on what can I do to fix this? Because I think there's always a solution as long as it's sensible. And so I show on my website what I did. And in 3 months, like you'll see on my last post, I'm wearing sleeveless, I'm wearing backless. So those are things that are doable. And I would say to people, these things worked for me. I'm not saying you must do that or you should do that. I'm saying this worked for me. I hope it works for you if you want to try it. And guess what? People are saying, you know what? That is working. I can do that. So it's just like you said, being real and being realistic. I think that's the most important thing. But the human body is the only machine that improves with use. I mean, think about that.
Isn't that crazy?
At every age. The human body, I mean, vacuum cleaners break down, cars break down, but the human body is the only machine that improves with use. And I think we've got such a valuable commodity, which is ourselves, and the biggest investment we can ever make is taking care of ourselves.
It's so true. I love that analogy because you're absolutely right. And it's so funny because I've also been following a lot of stuff about sun, especially here in Arizona. There's just this fear, this terrifying fear of this sun, which we do get a crazy. I mean, the intensity of the sun here is so different coming, especially because we moved here from Oregon, which there is no sun in Oregon. And so it's like
people in Oregon are going, what? There's sun here.
Seriously, we just got back from visiting and I didn't take my sunglasses out of my purse the whole time we were there. It was just not necessary. So it is intense, but people forget that our bodies, just like every other living thing on this earth, where the sunflowers, they actually turn, flowers will turn towards the sun, and grass and your leaves, your trees, everything needs sun to grow. And it's like, guess what? They just did a study where they found that children grow mostly in the spring and the summer, and they're thinking it's because they're outside and they're getting sunshine. And so, yeah, it's so we just don't understand how our bodies work. When you're talking about food, though, I want to show this. You are a food entrepreneur. Your company was called Nadja Foods. And it says, and I also do the women's event called Ultimate Girls Getaway. Do you still do that?
No, I was doing that. I did that for many years. And we basically raised money for women survivors of war all over the world, from Africa, Europe, wherever there was Syria, wherever there was war-torn countries. Women are victimized in war very much. They don't have a lot of voices or rights. So I would do this event and then we would able to sponsor women survivors of war. So that was something that I did. And then, like I said, food has always been, I've been a great advocate of healthy eating.
Right.
I think the ladies might be interested how I fell into just being an entrepreneur or starting my own business.
Yes, tell that story. I love that story. It's insane.
It's insane, and that's how I got to be a guest on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And actually, on my Instagram page and on my website, which is Nadja Eat Move Glow, I have the Oprah clip, and she was always great on women kind of lifting themselves up. And it's funny when you're going through a really tough time in your life and you kind of wonder, like, why is this happening to me? And you feel very alone. You think you're the only person who's suffering. And I learned that there's a reason for it. Sometimes hardships will put you on a new path that you normally wouldn't have even ventured on. Sometimes you wonder, why didn't this work out? I wanted this job, or I wanted this relationship, or whatever it is, and it didn't work out. Like, why? And I think because you're supposed to go in a better direction. And sometimes you don't know it till you go there. And I was married for 20 years. My husband left me for an actress / model, and I had 2 children. We had 2 children, 2 preteen children. He was a dentist, but he went through a bankruptcy, left to go to another part of the country where his new girlfriend was. And I was left with the 2 children with the bill collectors literally coming to my door. I lost my house, I lost the cars. And I tell the story where the bill collector came one day. My daughter was home for lunch and I made her hide under the table with me because the bill collector would look through the windows and he'd be yelling, like, "Deadbeat, I know you're in there." And I had no job because I had been a teacher 20 years prior. So I had I tried to get back to that, but I wasn't qualified anymore. Sent out resumes. I used to pray at night and say, if you could, and I wasn't getting alimony either. My children were getting some child support. I was getting no, because he went through the bankruptcy and he was gone. And I used to pray and say, if I could only find a job. And we moved into the fancy house and moved into a house where my son said, who was, he said, "Mama, my friend's going to laugh at me when they see we live here." It was a terrible time and I couldn't find work. Little takeaway for you ladies. I did end up with one resume, with one interview. I mean, my resume said, haven't worked for 20 years. Yeah, okay. And what do you do? I couldn't even I didn't even know how to turn on a computer. This was like 30 years ago.
Yeah.
I did end up getting an interview for something that I wasn't qualified in, but I was happy to go because I thought, well, maybe this is it. I'll get a job. And I remember the woman sitting there looking at me. She was very kind. And a little piece of advice: do not cry during an interview. It does not work. No matter how sorry they are for you.
Let me write that down. Do not cry
during an interview. You're probably going, what a wealth of information I just got today.
No, it's so true.
Yeah. And so I always loved baking. I always loved, healthy things. So I literally started baking in my kitchen, waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning because I was able to sell to little coffee shops where I was. So but nobody wants muffins and brownies at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah. So I would wake up, I would bake them, I would get in my car, and I would drive around and I would deliver my goods. So I was making a bit of money, but I always believed in like thinking wildly big. And I used to, I remember going down the highway, and it'd be wintry because this was in northern Canada when I lived at that time. Now I live in the US. And when you're on the highway in the wee hours in the morning, the big transport trucks, they'll come up behind you and kind of blind you because you're low and they're high. And I used to imagine these were trucks hauling my muffins across the country. And I was the lead car. Within a year, I ended up getting the contract for McDonald's Canada and getting the McDonald's account. I had learned how to outsource my product into a facility, and then it got approved. So it just, and in a nutshell, I mean, nothing is impossible. And sometimes you think, oh, that's never been done, or you can never do that. You just have to believe in yourself and realize. And so I ended up first year, all my recipes I put into a cookbook, published a cookbook, had my product in, the biggest restaurant that supply chain place there was. All of a sudden, I was able to pay my bills, and it's interesting. And yeah, and everyone asked, did your husband want to come back? Yes, he did.
Stop it. Stop it.
The actor/model, he was only married to her for 2 years, and he said she was too expensive to. Anyway, I just liked the new me. I just didn't want to be the gosh and golly, please and thank you wife that I was for 20 years. I liked who I was, and I want to be that. Long story short, he's married his third wife, and actually she's quite nice. But what was wonderful for me was, he had left me, and yeah, there's always someone prettier and younger, and this guy was always looking for that. But it allowed me to, after 10 years of being single and building my business and working hard, I did end up meeting my soulmate, this wonderful, wonderful man, the kindest, sweetest person I've ever known in my life. And we've been married 23 years. And I thought if my husband hadn't left me, I never would have met Doug. So, sometimes things happen and you go, why me? And I just think the universe has another plan for you. And if you just open your heart into possibilities, anything can happen, and dreams do come true. And I think, with Oprah, I had a chance to tell that story. But what I think is
tell that story, because, Oprah is like, there's Johnny Carson, there's Oprah, there's Lauren Michaels on Saturday Night Live. There's like 3 people in the world that if you get on that show, you're set. They're the kickoff. They're the rocket. Tell that story.
It's life changing. And, I used to imagine, I wrote down on a little card, and I put it, when I was like trying to, find my bearings and trying to support my kids and whatever, I wrote down on a little card saying, I will be on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And I put it in my wallet and I carried it around. I had it with me all the time, and lo and behold, one of the products I gotten my brownies into Subway restaurants across North America, and they, again, another healthy product. They were the staff at the Harpo Studios would go over there and eat the brownies because they were healthy and they were made with pureed dates and, lots of fiber and all the things that we should be eating. Because I think we should all eat desserts. But I've been very lucky to be able to make good tasting ones. And that's how I ended up on the Oprah Winfrey show. And I remember when I got the call and they said, this is, Oprah Winfrey show. We really, would like to have you come on the show. And, they knew a bit of my story. People in the subway had told them about me. And I thought somebody was playing a joke on me. But it seemed Harpo Studios. I'm going, well, someone's gone to a lot of trouble to make a joke on me. Because like the call display is staying. Harp and they move fast. Like within 3 days, I had a camera crew at my house. They were filming me, just doing my story. And then the next week, they flew me into Chicago. When you get there, there's a driver, and they get to the hotel and they say, tomorrow morning, don't do hair and makeup. We'll pick you up. When you get there, they do your hair and makeup. Like, it was amazing. Probably the most exciting week of my life, but it was life-changing. And she was awesome. I'm totally grateful to her to this day.
Yeah, that's so great. And I love that you kind of timelined how this happened, because it was kind of like, yes, the workers there would go into the subway and they would get your brownies, but your brownies had to be there. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to make some brownies so that Oprah's workers will find them in the subway. No, that's not what I will do this work. And then it happened, but you had to do the work before. And I also love that you took from your past. Like you said, your parents owned a restaurant. Your parents owned a grocery store. Food was in your blood and in your knowledge that you were given by your family. So you went back. What do I know? I know how, to do this. What year was this? And I'm going to do a little, when I edit this, I'm going to try to find your Oprah clip and stick that in there, because I think it's so great. I can find that on YouTube, right?
Yes, you can. And on my website, the Oprah clip is there, which is probably
I'll find that and stick this in.
NadjaFoods.com.
Okay.
It's there too,
Okay, that's perfect. So I'll put that on there too. But what year was that? It was in the 80s?
Well, no, I started my business in 1992.
Okay.
And the Oprah show was, probably about 2004.
Wow. Okay, 2004. Okay. I was trying to judge by Oprah's hair. It's like, what?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what year that was. But that makes sense. So 2004, so a little over 20 years ago. So that's amazing though. Yeah. And I also, I have a guest next week who works with people that abuse their spouses, and he is a pro women supporter, and he talks about where women fall whenever there is an abuse or abandonment, and how the social justice system does not support women. When you say that story about how you weren't getting alimony because your husband had claimed bankruptcy, at least he was paying child support. But I hear that story all the time, and it breaks my heart because, I live in Arizona. We live in a 50-50 state. So you automatically assume, well, great, you're going to go into the mediator. You're going to sit down with your lawyers. They're going to split everything in half. You're going to get half of this. You're going to sell the house. You get half of this. And it just doesn't work out that way.
Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. And when the creditors take your house, your base is gone. But, I'm always amazed on other women I've met. We share stories and the resiliency that we have. And sure, I'm not going to say that, I just waltzed away. I mean, after come out of the fetal position, and I think the changing thing for me was the day I made my daughter hide under the table from the bill collector, because I don't know if anybody's ever been chased by one. They come to your house and they'll check for any cars in the driveway. And I would always learn when they came to hide. And, that was my coping. Not that I liked it, but that was my coping. And then the day my daughter had to hide with me and we were on the floor under the table, nose to nose on our hands and knees. And that's when, she's going, Mommy, I got to go to school. And she goes, I'm like, no, we got to stay here. And that day, I think, just was the day that I found the inner strength, and that's when I said, you know what, I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do. I'm going to do whatever I have to do. And that was, starting to bake and starting to do. And what's amazing is if you try hard, it's almost like the universe, all of a sudden there's support that happens. You have to realize that everything is possible.
Yeah.
And don't listen to the naysayers who go, oh, like even for McDonald's, well, I was the first woman-owned business, that supplied them, and I competed against Quaker for that account. Yes, yeah, and so there's a David versus Goliath in all of us, and
Right.
and you don't have to worry about this being the smallest because you can, I felt my products were good, they were what people needed, and I would say this, and I didn't make up this expression, but I really love it. It goes, an entrepreneur is someone who creates something out of nothing and translates it into value to other people.
I love that.
That's what you can do,
Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. I just love your Instagram page. But so talk a little bit about when you talk about the 80-20 and the exercise, because you have to decide what you want for your body, like you say. And so many people will say, well, it's my genetics. And it's like, you know what? Yes, because I'm kind of more in the bodybuilding world. And so I'm trying really, really hard to build my glutes. But I keep saying, honey, you're from Scotland, and I don't think they have large butts there. If you were from Brazil, you could
Oh,
probably
yeah.
do this, but you're not. You're just this little white Irish Scottish girl. I got to work with what I got here, So, and I remember, it's so funny the things that you remember. I remember I was about 13, 14. So you're just hitting that junior high. I wear makeup type thing. We had some visitors over at the house and we had taken them somewhere, and we get out of the house and I'm walking ahead of them into the house. And this young kid who was about 19, he says, well, at least you're not knock-kneed. And I was like, because he was referencing the fact that I'm bow-legged. Yes, thank you, Dad. I am bow-legged. That's the way my legs go. They don't go straight. They go a little bit out like this. That's genetics, right?
Yeah.
It's genetics. When people say, well, it's my genetics, I can't help it. I think no, because if you were to go to Ukraine right now, we're talking about that a little bit, where you don't have access to 24-hour food, you probably would lose some weight. It's probably just going to happen. There are things, lifestyle is something that you can control. Yes, I'm 5'4", cannot control that. That's out of my, it's too late, but I can control my lifestyle. And one of the things that's really kind of eye-opening for me here in Arizona is there's a lot of old people down here. A lot of people like to retire in Arizona. So there's a lot of, we call cottonheads, down here. And my husband and I just went to a little music thing. They have a music festival down here every year. And so we went to this church that puts this music festival on. The whole place is filled. I don't think anybody in that place was under 70, but they're out. It's a Friday evening. It's 8:00 at night. They got a cane. They have walkers, but they're with a partner. They're holding hands. They're getting out of their car in the parking lot. They're walking to this church. There weren't a lot of people that were being dropped off at the door. They had to walk from their car. And I thought, that's the secret. The secret is to keep moving, keep going out to this event or that event, even if you have to take a cane or even if you have to walk slowly. These people were so happy and they were out. Like you say, there's a little TikTok thing going around right now where they show two people that are 75 years old and one person is in a walker in a nursing home and the other person is tying their tennis shoes and getting ready to go for a hike.
Yeah.
And so a lot of it is your choice. But I love also what you said, where there are other things that we can't control: cancer, disease, injuries, past things that we did that maybe were hard on our bodies. And now we're paying the price for that, So there are modifications that you need to do. But I don't know about you, but I also follow another lady that's about our age. And she's had her, 3 fusions in her back. And
Wow.
so she has to modify her exercises. She can't maybe do crunches, ab crunches. But she modifies it and figures out a way to do her ab thing. So you're so right. Talk about just kind of give us a brief, like on your Instagram. I know you show a lot of your Pilates and you also show, just like you say, like your toning that you like to do. But I also love that you show like simple stretches. And
Yeah.
it's not elaborate. It's
Yeah.
not, insane, but talk a little bit about that, some of the things that you show.
That everybody can do. And when I first started this, it was about, and it's funny, I say I'm not an influencer, though. I guess that I'm in a category of that because of the numbers I have. But I say I'm a guide. I'm a guide to ageless living. So I'm just showing, I'm just showing the way, I'm showing what I know. And that to me is, I have a responsibility because I know I have many of the followers are different ages. And it's funny, I thought I would just get, gals of a certain age, but I'm also getting younger girls who are going, hey, I want to, when I'm older, one girl said, I was so afraid of getting old, but now I think I can, it's going to be okay because if I take care of myself, I'm going to age well. So I have this cross section, and I really want to make sure that I'm showing things that everybody can do. And sometimes we overlook basic important things like stretching. Any age group can do it, but before you get out of bed, to get your, to stretch out, because when you hit that floor, you're in like a helter skelter world. You're doing this, you're doing that. So give yourself a few moments and then stretch out your body, because falling or hurting yourself, if you're stiff or pulled in, or you haven't limbered up, you're going to have a worse fall. You're going to have a worse outcome, and also balance. What is the leading cause of people hurting themselves after a certain age? It's falling. It's because they've lost their balance. And so I'm really big on teaching balance, because that holds your core up. And also you look better, right? You're like, okay, I'm standing strong. So I try basically, in a nutshell, Renee, I kind of show what has worked for me, and I kind of show what I believe in, and just lay it out there. And, if someone wants to gather that for themselves, I welcome that. But if it's not for them, that's okay too. But we have a choice. And I just want to show, it's like I'm putting out this buffet and I'm saying, feast on it. It's free. It's available.
Yeah.
But if you don't want it, that's okay too. We're not going to force feed you.
Well, speaking of force feeding, give us an idea of your version of 80/20. And do you, so would you say that most of your food is made at home?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I don't believe in processed foods, highly processed foods. I also am a great believer in making sure you're eating low glycemic foods, foods that don't spike your sugar, your blood sugar, because when you eat something that's high glycemic, which like white flour, sugar, a lot of the white products, for some reason do that. You eat them, it spikes your blood sugar, and so your body can become insulin resistant, which will lead to diabetes, also gaining weight, because when you eat something like, for example, like sugar, your body sees sugar as a toxin. And what does it want to do? Your body loves you. It just wants to protect you. So it will sequester those calories in your fat cells. So if the toxin is in your fat, it's not going to go to your heart, to your lungs, because your body is now sequestered that, what call it poison for your body, because it wants to protect you. So guess what? You gain weight, and it's a very tough weight to lose. So low glycemic food is really important. Also protein. I always have protein with every single meal or snack, because protein is a heat activator and it burns calories. So that's really important. Fiber is another thing that's really important because you know what, if the plumbing's not working, things aren't good, so that's really important. So those are my basics, and every day my diet respects that, because that works for me. And I think it's just something that would work for anybody, because it's so simple and it's so available. And so for example, and I also take collagen for my skin, and there's a brand that I like, and they didn't pay me to promote it, but I just love it. It's called Ageless, and it's on my shopping link of my website, and also on my Instagram page, where it goes to my lists on Amazon shopping. The collagen is there. That's been amazing for my skin, better than the other collagen I was using. There's certain pills I use, calcium pills for my osteoporosis, which actually changed it to osteopenia. So I didn't want to take the pharma pills, that you take once a month. And those I was so worried about because of the side effects. So I talk about how that's helped me, the protein drinks I have, all the things I've all got it on my website. And that's what I do every day because people are asking me, well, what are you eating every day? What do you, what? And so I say, okay, this is what I eat. And it's always delicious because I think healthy food should taste delicious. Believe me, on that 80%, I'm not suffering. I'm very happy.
But you like 80 as much as the 20.
I love it. I love it. But I'll tell you, sometimes that dry martini on the weekend, I know that's not in my 80, or that glass of wine or that cheesecake. But I do have a very good cheesecake I do that's healthy. So I always have this alternative. But yeah, that's my 80-20. And when I have overindulged, gone on holidays, whatever, I kind of stretch that 20 a bit. All I do is I come back and I'll do more cardio, like with my workout. And I also detailed what I do in my workout every day. And so if I need to drop a few pounds, I'll up my cardio a bit until I kind of go back. But it's funny, when you have the 80-20, it's not like the days where I used to yo-yo 20 pounds up and down. Like when you're eating the 80-20 diet, you might go up a couple of pounds, but hey, it's pretty easy to come back. But try to lose that 20-pound swing. Oh my God, you're starving and you're binging, and you're starving and you're binging. And what happens is when you reduce your calorie intake and you're in that starving mode, your body, it doesn't know if you're on a desert island and you run out of food. So what does your body do? Because again, your body loves you. It now starts to conserve the calories because it thinks, hey, this gal stopped eating. Maybe she's run out of food and we don't know for how long. So then your metabolism slows down, which is what you need to do to save yourself. But when you start eating even normally again, your metabolism is now so slow that you're gaining weight. So this up and down yo-yo dieting only messes you up and makes you fatter at the end of the day. And so with this 80-20, it's a control thing, but like something you can be on and enjoy for the rest of your life. And I think, getting back, it's reality and it works.
That's so true. And the other thing too that I have found is, I'm not one of these people that can weigh themselves every day, because I recognize water weight, and I recognize that if I decide to go, like you say, it's a weekend, we're going to go to the movies, I'm going to get some popcorn. And, now I sneak my healthy popcorn in, but it still has a lot of salt in it and stuff like that. So I know that I'm going to retain water, and some of the supplements I take, I retain water. And so I'm not going to get on the scale every day because it's going to freak me out, because I am a child of the 60s, and, we all want to look like Twiggy. And so, I can't, I have a hard time with my trainer because he'll say, I want you to get on the scale. And I'm like, I'm not getting on the scale because I feel really good. And I know if I get on the scale, I'm going to want to die. And so I have a really hard time because I feel like you can just tell, you can tell with your clothing or how your body's like, I think I might be up a few pounds. I'm going to go back, like you say, add a little bit more cardio. The protein, that I think is one of the hardest things to get through women's minds, is that you need to eat protein, because I feel like we love our carbs, especially if you're not menopausal and you're still going through that cycles, and where you're just, I just want carbs, good old Oprah and her bread. I love bread,
I love bread too.
Yeah.
But if you're going to eat carbs, and let's face it, they're delicious, and have the protein with it. Have some protein with it, and just make sure, because if you're just eating solid carbs, your body is going to want to store that as fat. But the protein, like I said, it's a heat activator. It helps your metabolism. And so you should not have a meal without some protein in it. And there's different forms of protein. I mean, there's the food that has protein in it, and then there's a certain protein powder that I like that doesn't have any taste to it. So I'll add that to my oatmeal because I want that, especially for the start of the day, I want that bump of protein. Those are ways to kind of regulate your weight, but also enjoy your food, because at the end of the day, food should taste good. It's something that we look forward to.
And the sad thing is, you stop eating the processed food, and I'm warning you people, it's sad, but it's true. And then if you start eating clean and then you go, oh, what the crud, I'm just going to go get some Pringles or whatever. You're like, oh, I can't believe I ate these. The junk food tastes horrible.
I know.
It's like, oh, I've lost.
You know why, Renee? Because your body is telling you.
Yeah.
This is not taste good. But when it becomes a habit or you're addicted, that's a different thing. Your body loves it because
Yeah.
but when you have shown that you can eat better. Yeah, sometimes you'll eat that thing that you used to like. Go, doesn't taste as good as it that I thought it would. And that's your body going, you know what? It's really not something you need. But have that one cookie. Just don't have the whole bag.
Yeah.
But I mean, I used to do binge eating, so I know what I'm talking about here. And I always said that last cookie in the bottom of the bag never tasted as good as the first cookie.
No, it's true. It's like,
No,
dang it,
it's
but I gotta eat it. I just can't. Yeah. No, it's so true. The binge eating, and that's the other thing that I think is important is it's not a joke. It really isn't a joke. And me and a lot of other people, there's just certain things we can't have in the house because, you're going to go stand in the pantry at some point and go, I gotta have something, And so if there's, 4 things of Oreos sitting on the counter, you're probably going to eat them. So I cannot have them in the house. But when I was growing up, my mom, typical Midwest cook, she was a great cook, but it was definitely 1960s casseroles, Campbell's soup, things like that. But it was real food from that, but she cooked. And I never was a big sweet person. I wouldn't crave candy. I remember go out with my girlfriends and they'd say, well, let's go to Dairy Queen. I'd be like, well, do they have hamburgers? I'd rather get a hamburger than an ice cream cone, I went into the Navy after I got out of high school and they had vending machines and I was introduced to ice cream bars and candy. And so I got to the point where I could down a 2-pound bag of M&Ms easily at some night, just sit there and just an entire bag of 2-pound M&Ms. And if I was standing duty, I would go to the vending machine throughout the night and get ice cream bars. And it got to be like it was a compulsion. I was addicted. My body craved that sugar.
Yeah,
And
you needed it after a while.
yes. And it was scary. It was really scary. And fortunately, when I got married and was able to change my lifestyle, it kind of went away naturally. I didn't have to. It was a big light bulb for me to realize how addicted I was to that sugar and how addictive it is. And so it is, I really want to explain to people it's not your fault. It's not your fault because if you eat that food, like you were saying, vacation time, a lot of times we'll indulge on vacation. And then you get home on Monday and you're like, oh, crud, I really want some ice cream bars or something like that because you got to get that out of your system. It literally is a physical addiction.
I remember when I was younger, when I'd go to a restaurant, I would look at the dessert menu first.
Yeah.
So I could plan and look to what dessert I was going to have.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh my, yeah. So it was like this powerful stuff.
Yeah.
It's really powerful.
Yeah. But I love what you said about making sure that your 80% tastes good too, because you've got to have flavor. And I found some really good products. Sauce is a big thing for me. It's like, look, I'm not going to eat dried chicken breasts. Okay. I got to put something on that dried chicken. And so I love a good sauce. And I found some sauce that doesn't have a lot of junk in it and all that stuff. So you're making sure that you're
on my website. I have on there and it's on my Instagram. It is these cookies that I came up with. They're oatmeal power cookies. And it is my most requested recipe.
Uh-huh.
And everyone who makes it goes, oh my God, we love it. And it's high fiber, it's high protein, it has everything healthy in it, and it just tastes so good. It's a staple in my house. Like when I make it, I'll make a batch and then I'll freeze some, because just my husband and myself.
Yeah.
And then I'll take it out and just thaw them and have them. But I have them with my cup of coffee. I like a nice cappuccino in the middle of the afternoon. Shall be having one after our get together here, and I'll have one of these oatmeal cookies. Yeah, so sometimes you come across, you can create a recipe that is, it's real. It's something that somebody will eat even if they're not looking for something healthy. But if you can kind of incorporate healthy, even if you're not looking at healthy, it's a pretty nice situation because you're always, doing what's better for you. I stay away from sugar. In this cookie recipe, I put in not very much honey, but some honey to sweeten it up and chop up dates, which are awesome. And that's chopped up in there. There's pecans chopped in there. There's pumpkin seeds in there. I use only spelt flour. I don't like all-purpose flour because spelt flour is an ancient grain that has more nutrients. There's all these things. And I think what I love is people go, well, I've never used spelt flour before. Gee, it's good. Or I've never done this, And so now they're kind of incorporating into their lives better cooking habits. And there's a lot more recipes I want to put on there. I've got a bunch of recipes on my website already, but I'm creating a new cookbook, and then I'm kind of building. But it was so funny, Renee. I just started doing this, and I'm loving it. Instagram and the website, which we put up very quickly because all the response I was getting, and I can't wait to do everything that I want to do, but it's just so exciting. So if you're needing something, contact me, guys. Whoever's watching, and I can answer your questions. I'm happy to do that. But I'm just this is the best thing I've ever done. Like it's so much fun.
Of all the things you've done, this is what I love. This is 75 years old, and everything you've gone through, you've had this successful food business, but continuing to find joy in what you're doing. That is the highlight of my podcast, is inspiring women to find joy in every era, every season of their life, because it's not over. It's not over till it's over. And so
Exactly.
if I hear one more person say, well, I'm old, or Nadja, you'll have to tell me how. I know I don't want to offend anybody, but if I hear one more 53-year-old person go, look, I am 53 and look at what I'm doing, I'm like, well, I hope so. You're only 53, girlfriend. You're not old,
You are just starting.
Call me back in 20 years. We'll talk.
Yeah.
So it's
the joyful thing of any 50-year-olds that are watching is you've got such an amazing runway ahead of you. I hope you make the best of it. And don't let anyone tell you that you're on your last leg of your voyage, because you are entering what could be the very best part of your voyage.
Exactly. You're so right. You're so right. Well, what a beautiful way to end this conversation, because you're so inspiring. And I'm going to link your website and your Instagram. And I'm also going to put your movie in there with your little clip with Oprah, because I think that's fabulous, so that people can find you. And please follow Nadja. And she is just, I love the simplicity and I love the realness of your podcast, because I do think it's doable, and people like to see doable things. And sometimes, the extravagant things that a lot of people do. But I'm like you. It's like, I want to go out like the woman who a couple of years ago, she ran the New York Marathon. She went to the Today Show. She went to there and she met Elle and had a little chit chat with him. And they showed, I just ran the marathon, went back to her hotel, laid down on her bed and died. And I'm like, that is how I want to go out. I want to go out she was in her 90s. It's like, I want to go out having just run a marathon, gone to the Today Show, and then just laid down and died.
Yeah. See, she's the one, wearing high heels, going through the pearly gates.
Yeah. And I love that you said that, because I am not giving up my high heels. That's the other thing.
Yeah. We should. Renee, what a pleasure to spend this time with you. Everyone else, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it. I know you're on Eastern time, so that we had to figure out our time things, but it's been a joy. So thank you so much for being on She Became Visible. And this is a perfect example. All right. Thanks so much, Nadja. Bye-bye. Oh my gosh. What a delight. Isn't that refreshing? To listen to someone with such joy in their life. And not that she hasn't gone through stuff. And I think that's what we need to remember and highlight, is that we're all going to go through stuff in our life, especially if you live long enough, right? You're going to go through stuff. But I feel as though she has made the best. It's her attitude. It's her mindset. So I hope that's been an inspiration for you. And as I said, I will link everything on details on this podcast. Thank you for joining me today. And please follow Nadja, but we need you to subscribe. We need you to subscribe, like, and share so that this word can get out. Ladies, you are not invisible. You are very much present. You need to stand up and say, I am here. I am still worth it. And I still have a lot of things to do. So I hope you take on that mantra for the day. Thanks for joining me today. Bye-bye.